You're good.
All right, hello everyone. Happy Tuesday. I hope everyone had a healthy and safe Labor Day. Today we are going to be taking a look at some fashion news. Let's go ahead and get started with our first story. Of course, if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask via any of our live platforms that we are currently streaming on, whether it's Zoom, Instagram Live, Facebook Live, or LinkedIn Live. So let's go ahead and get started and take a look at travel and beauty. Um, Something that's interesting that we talked about a couple of weeks ago is contrary to classic retail in terms of clothing, the beauty industry is actually doing quite well during this time. It has had a very big sort of pivot, as most of our industries have, but we're starting to see something interesting happen in travel, right? So travel is not necessarily, and when I'm saying travel, I mean air travel. Traditionally, right? Traveling via airplanes, specifically domestically here in the United States, has all but sort of halted. And we're seeing that the decimation of the travel retail has hit, or rather, the decimation of travel in general has hit beauty brands quite hard. L'Oreal's CEO cited the closure of airport stores as one of their main reasons for L'Oreal's 19.4 decline in sales, while Estee Lauder has reported that global travel retail declined less than 30% in recent earnings. Overall organic sales in the skin and personal care category over at Procter and Gamble has decreased as well in the single low digits. Now, the closures of airport stores and airport terminals, of course, has contributed to a decline in sales during the COVID-19 pandemic and lockdowns. And travel retail has been a steady growth winner for beauty brands in the past 15 years. So it's important to note that, right? Global revenues have tripled $69 billion since 2017. So this is a fast growing market. And during this time, we're seeing sort of, again, a shift starting to happen. But the pandemic has definitely exposed the sort of industry's over reliance on this particular sector, right? We live in this omni-channel world, and it's never really smart to be over reliant on just one channel. And historically, people who choose to buy duty free for the price and the convenience, right? It's been sort of usurped by these improved conveniences that you can get from shopping online. So even as travel retail revenue has grown, there are definitely some cracks in the model, right? An individual individual passenger can spend a continuous, have been on the sort of decline as the air travel experience changes and as we become a lot more savvy and a lot more apt to travel with less, right? We're seeing this sort of shift in that demographic. Also, traveler demographics have changed, and that brings different shopping habits along with them. Millennials now account for the bulk of business trip spending at roughly 46%, right? They're much more planned in their shopping behaviors, which online shopping enables, and their purchases tend to be less impulsive. So we're seeing less purchasing from places like duty free at airport terminals. But this also presents an opportunity to rethink operations and to be more flexible, right? Heathrow Airport, for example, is expanding the capabilities of their app boutique that they've created. It's a more contactless passenger experience. So for those for whom traveling is necessary and part of their work, they can now do so in a safer way, in a contact-free way. It's a new feature that lets travelers essentially reserve products ahead of time, and it enables customers to pick them up as they go quickly on their way to the gate. Something similar is happening over in Canada at the Vancouver airport, which relies on a similar program called Reserve and Collect. And this has some travelers using this program that have been using these apps throughout the pandemic in a very engaging way that they still feel as though they can get what they need, but they don't have to interact with too many people on their travels. And heightened customer service for travel retail, it can generally be a very high touch point situation. So we're starting to see, adaptations as to how these airports are going to be doing business in the future. Clarins has begun pairing all of its products with QR codes that shoppers can now use to learn more about the products. And Clarins expects that travel retail will remain a significant part of their business. So even though we're sort of going through a lull in travel, meaning airports currently, it will start to pick up again as cities start to reopen and as people start to travel and use air travel again. And they really need to think about, the consumer journey in an integrated way, with travel retail viewed as sort of an extension of what shopper experiences online are and an extension of what the classic brick and mortar experience can bring. Retail, or rather industry experts, believe that the beauty accessibility, like the price point, the replenishment factor, and the sort of low suitcase space that its purchases require will continue to make the beauty industry a popular category in travel. Also, think about travel restrictions. I know domestically in the United States, you can't travel with things larger than 3 ounces, right? So this tiny travel size ability, if you forgot your shampoo or you forgot your body wash, right, you can now go into these spaces and purchase this. And that generally tends to be the bulk of the impulse purchasing, are hygienic products when one travels, whether it's because TSA took them away or they just forgot to pack it. We're definitely going to start to see, as people travel again, that those things will start to funnel back into the sort of public domain. Let's take a look at what is going on over at Banana Republic. So Banana Republic is partnered with Rock the Vote and Delivering Good. Banana Republic has launched its fall campaign, and it's entitled "We'll Work for a Better Republic," and is partnered with Delivering Goods and Rock the Vote to help those in need and to strengthen our democracy. We're starting to see this huge, we're less than, November 3rd is very quickly approaching, and we're starting to see a lot of brands, particularly brands based in the United States, get very heavily involved in politics and incentivizing young people to become excited about the democratic process and to really make sure that they're registered, right? We're seeing this from tons of brands that are building initiatives with young people to get them registered and get them excited to get out and vote. So this is not surprising that Banana Republic has stepped up to this. And to amplify these voices, Banana Republic has teamed up with nonpartisan nonprofit Rock the Vote to promote their voter registration during this election year. Now, Rock the Vote will provide email and text election reminders to those who register to vote, and voter education and mobilization tools to those preparing to vote, which include this year, more important than ever, absentee ballot requests and polling place lookup. So, because of the lockdown, a lot of people aren't feeling as comfortable as they have in years prior to physically going out to their polling stations and, potentially exposing themselves to the risk of COVID. So absentee ballots are going to be a major, major game changer for this election season, and Banana Republic stepping in to make sure that is accessible to people is very important. And this is a great moment for Banana Republic to, put purpose over profit. That's something that I find very, very important in a brand that I want to support. And it's nice to see that they are including young people in their conversation. Banana Republic will also release a new series of reusable non-medical grade face masks with "Vote for a Better Republic" on them, and voting messaging from that will benefit Rock the Vote. The masks are available on their website starting tomorrow on September 10th, and with $5 for every $15 mask sold donated to Rock the Vote, they are matching that up to $25,000. In June, Banana Republic donated over $20 million of new clothes to Delivering Good, a nonprofit organization that brings together retailers and manufacturers, foundations, and individuals to support Americans in need and out of work. That is roughly 30 million people currently in the United States, right? So it's a pretty devastating number. So it's nice to see these brands step up to that challenge. And all of these ads will run on Banana Republic's owned channels, as well as with their media partners like Goop, The Cut, Complex, The New York Times, HQ, Vogue, Hearst, etc. Moving on to take a look at something that Lacoste has been working on. So prior to what people think everything's sort of being stagnant, we're starting to see new collaborations, new collections popping up. Lacoste has teamed up with Chinatown Market for a new collection that combines each brand's individual signature style, right? Chinatown Market is a leader in the streetwear realm, and they're bringing their sort of very unique, bold aesthetic to Lacoste's classic, sporty aesthetic, right? The two brands had first collaborated together back in 2018, offering consumers a customization experience at Hype Fest in New York City. But this new collaboration marks the first time that Lacoste and Chinatown Market have designed a collection together, right? So here's a look at what that collection looks like. And the range includes t-shirts, polos, sweatshirts, baseball hats, caps, right? Featuring their new take on the signature Lacoste crocodile logo. And all styles launched for retail yesterday through Chinatown Market's website. And from Lacoste's e-commerce site, it will launch today. So make sure you check that out. Another thing that may surprise people are openings of museums. I know here in New York City, just this week, lots of our institutions, the Metropolitan Museum, the American Museum of Natural History, they are starting to open up, of course, at a limited capacity, with safety being the number one priority. But we're starting to see our major cities here begin to reopen and readmit the general public in with, of course, new guidelines set in place. But this makeup museum that was supposed to open in New York City, this is 5 months delayed, right? They were supposed to open on May 1st. But they were now officially open, and they've had to completely rethink their exhibitions. But necessity is the mother of invention. The museum's inaugural exhibit is the one that we see here pictured, which is Pink Jungle, 1950s Makeup in America. And it got a completely hands-free makeover ahead of opening. So originally this museum was supposed to be very interactive, and with the elements of COVID and safety concerns with, cross-contamination and, overly touching things, right? The exhibit that was planned for May 1st should have been much more interactive than what we're seeing. However, a lot of digital executions were able to be made and adaptations to the exhibit, so it's just as exciting, and they've done something really fun and really interesting. At the ribbon cutting ceremony, masks were mandatory, temperatures were taken, and through a no contact thermometer at the door. Tickets are currently available for selected time slots, and the museum is operating only every other hour to clean between visitations and allow the air to recirculate through the space. So a lot of updating has been done to many HVAC systems throughout the world to make sure that, HEPA air filters are really sort of cleaning the space from an air circulatory perspective to make sure, again, we are safe and that it is a top priority. So if you're in New York City, make sure that you check out the new makeup museum. It's also worth noting, I don't know that a makeup museum could have existed, would have existed, 20, 30 years ago. This is a testament to this billion-dollar industry and just how powerful and profitable it's become, that now it has its own sort of institutionalized museum space that celebrates the history of that. And our final story, we're taking a look at, this is an interesting one. Will the rental market replace fast fashion? A lot of people have a lot of opinions about this, but we're starting to see peer-to-peer rental fashion platforms. They're seeing revenues reach an all-time high, while demand is diversifying far beyond just occasion wear. So I think when these rental platforms started to emerge online, it was mainly for events, right? It was mainly for, cocktail dresses and tuxedos. I mean, those, if you're thinking about the wedding industry, that's been around for, 20, 40, 50 years, right? You're going to a wedding, you need to rent a tux if you're a best man, or, but we're starting to see that people are using these services at an alarming rate. People are really, they would argue that if you're producing a responsible product and yet you sell and you consume it in a conventional way, then you really haven't had a solid impact because you're still contributing to the system of pure consumption, right? So a crop of these startups are starting to see plenty of opportunity, particularly in post-quarantine landscape, as this perfect hybrid solution, right? Between the social media fueled need for never-ending newness and more mindful consumption, particularly with millennials and especially with Generation Z, right? Rental platform Her, for example, just revealed a permanent partnership with Selfridges as part of Selfridges' company-wide Project Earth campaign. And that partnership is a vote of confidence in the circulatory economy, right? It marks a change in the way that the fashion industry is continuing to operate in a new and more sustainable way. And the ultimate aim is to offer high fashion at fast fashion prices and eventually eclipse the high demand for cheap and disposable clothing by fast fashion giants, right? Can they do it? Your guess is as good as mine, but certainly they are stepping into big shoes and they are doing quite a smart job of it so far. Customers have been locked at home. You also have to keep in mind, right, consuming a lot of digital media like never before. We've been living on our phones and our iPads and our computers and our television screens. So they're becoming a lot more aware of the fashion industry's polluting and exploitative ways through various scandals that have occurred during this time and movements that have occurred during this time, right? We're starting to see people become a lot more informed as consumers and really wanting to recognize that where their dollar is going is not going to support brands that don't treat workers ethically, right? The concept of like voting for your wallet, for example, has become even more ingrained in this idea as we're all more conscious of which companies have been doing the right thing and which ones haven't during this time. And this no inventory approach to the rental business is proving to be very future-proof in our current landscape. While companies like Rent the Runway were forced to close several permanent physical locations earlier this year, we're seeing a new crop of rental startups were able to adapt a lot quicker, right? So online is becoming, quickly and steadily the way that we work and play and shop. And so these companies that are adapting the quickest are bearing all the fruit, right? They spent now revenues are starting to come back slowly but surely. So there was a lull in early June and July. But as we, again, start to get out of lockdown and start to sort of reemerge culturally, we're starting to see that these services are starting to do much better, with rental revenue largely driven by what we're calling zillennials, which is like the culmination of the millennial and the Generation Z, when their Venn diagram becomes one giant circle, right? These shoppers who are familiar with sharing economy platforms and are committed to sustainability. And these eco-conscious shoppers are no longer renting for just formal occasions, right? Now people are renting for day to day, right? People don't necessarily want to go to a fast fashion brand and buy an entire new wardrobe that they're going to have to replenish the next year. Why not instead just rent it, go to the event, go to the work conference, go to the presentation, and have a new outfit every single time, right? That's why it's important to keep the price points very affordable, because this can also ensure that everyone can partake in quality circulatory fashion without the elements of elitism or a price point in which they get priced out and think, oh, that's just for, you know, the extremely wealthy. But it's important to make sure that this is also accessible to everyone. That does it for this week's stories. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of our WindowsWear members and see what our WindowsWear members are up to today. So here we have Millennium. This is a project from Millennium Signs and Displays, Inc. This is a project that they did for Saks Fifth Avenue. And then we also have a project brought to you by Teresa Silva. This is Tom Brown, Anatomy of the Suit. And I believe that is it for this week. It was a short week, of course, being that we had a holiday week. So, again, if there's any questions, please feel free to submit those on any of our social media channels. And if you are, our next installation will be on next Tuesday at 3 p.m. Please feel free to check that out. We will be showcasing a trend report. So we're going to take a break from the news and we're going to take a look at what is currently trending in the retail industry. And this Thursday at 3 p.m., our WindowsWear members, Argineering, they are based in Cairo. They will be giving a fantastic presentation. Argineering offers solutions to create animation for Windows displays. So please tune in to that on Thursday at 3 p.m. And I will see you next Tuesday at 3 p.m. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.